Bonjour la classe, aujourd'hui on va faire une petite vidéo sur les pronoms, le COD et le COI. On a déjà regardé les pronoms I et en et aujourd'hui on va faire la même chose avec le pronom ou les pronoms COD, COI. So for this presentation, I just wanted to go a bit in more detail, covering a bit what we've learned already in 102 regarding these two pronouns, okay? You'll see that your book kind of goes straight into what is new for 111. But for this little video, I just wanted to go over it briefly so that you have an idea of what they are. Remember that COD is complément d'objet direct, okay? And there is a reason why we say direct, okay? Ça remplace un nom ou un objet. And I should put this in bracket here, okay? So like I and en, you're trying to not repeat something, so that's why we have the COD, okay? So this will be great in your writing exercises when you're not trying to be repeating things. When you use COD, you're asking the question quoi et qui, okay? It's mainly for les verbes transitifs. Transitif, voilà. So there are verbs that when you ask the question quoi and qui, it makes more sense than asking the question to who and to what. For instance, in English, you have something like I'm eating an apple. I eat what? An apple, right? So that would be a COD because you're just asking the question what as opposed to what. But let's just say I'm using the verb speaking. I'm speaking to or I'm talking to Pooja, for instance. So with that verb, it is an intransitive, not a transitive, because you're adding that preposition to it. Okay, so that would be COE if you remember that. So for COD, going back to it, you're mainly just asking the question quoi and qui, and a lot of time it will depend on the verb that you're using. So let's take a look at some example. Je mange une pomme, like I just said. Je mange quoi? Une pomme. All right. So the way that you're going to be replacing the pomme is you're using these four compléments. All right. These four pronouns. So je mange quoi? Une pomme. And because pomme is féminin, you're going to be replacing that with la. And like all pronouns that we've seen so far, it's always going to be before the verb. All right. Ils attendent Juliette. Now here we see that it's not an object. Juliette is a person, but here you're asking the question, ils attendent qui? Right? Remember here we don't have a preposition, so that would tell us that it's a COD. So, ils attendent qui? Juliette. And here we have L' because we have a vowel. So if we didn't have a vowel here, because Juliette is feminine, we're going to have la. Okay? Be careful. And you'll see this in your practice quiz where you're going to have to find or choose between I, en, and then COD, COE. You'll have a chart at the beginning, and I encourage you and I recommend you to go over that because I'll tell you how to distinguish between all of them. Mainly, if you have indéfini, remember you're using en, all right? You're not using a COD, okay? Because you have the indéfini. Now, COE, same deal as COD. The only difference is you have the little preposition, right? I'm talking to who? I'm talking to the professor. So that's a COE, all right? So, for instance, je parle à mon professeur, je parle à qui, right? I'm not saying je parle qui. Grammar-wise, it doesn't make any sense, right? Because parler is an intransitif, right? Verbe. Okay, so for that one, you're going to be replacing it with the pronouns lui et leur. And lui would be singulier, doesn't matter the gender. Leur would be pluriel, again, doesn't matter the gender. Okay, so je parle à mon professeur, you don't want this part. Je lui parle, same deal, it goes before the verb. Il donne la réponse au professeur. Il donne la réponse à qui? au professeur, right? Again, you're taking this out, you're putting that in front of the verb. Another thing that we might get confused with is, okay, well, we just see a preposition here, so it has to be COE, sorry. Remember, with E, you're asking the question here, il attend Juliette où? Il y attend Juliette, because here it's a place. So make sure that you know the distinction between E and then COE. Again, go to the practice quiz with these 4 pronouns and it tells you exactly how to distinguish between the 4 of them, and attempt the question as well, okay? They're very, very beneficial for you. Now, this is something that might be new, that might not be new, depending on your level of French, but we definitely see that in 111. Les pronoms réflexifs, d'accord? Reflexive pronouns. So these ones, we have done réfléchi, so when you're doing the action on yourself in 101, but these ones might be new for some of us. So, these pronouns might either be COD and COE, and again, it depends on the verb that you're using. For instance, if you're talking to someone, remember that's COE because you have the 2. Lydia te parle. So the question would be Lydia parle à qui? So the te would be COE because that would be, let's just say, Lydia parle à Jessica, for instance, right? So if you don't want to be repeating Jessica, then that would be lui parle. But here we know if it's a conversation between 2 persons, one is calling the person toi or tu, it'll go before the verb, and that would be a COD because you're asking the question à qui. Julien nous invite à sa fête. Julien invite qui? So that would be the nous, right? So that would be a COD, right? Because Juliette is inviting who? We're just asking the question without the preposition, so that will go with a COD. La classe du 111 nous verra pour le prochain cours. Same deal, you're asking the 2 main questions, either à qui, à quoi, or qui or quoi, right? La classe du 111 verra qui, nous, right? So that's a COD, right? So let's take a look at some of the quiz question. I've taken some of them from there. Again, if you haven't already, I really encourage you to do those. So, corriger les pronoms suivants. So, in all of these sentences, there is a pronoun that was used that is not used correctly. Okay? Le fromage, on lui mange avec le pain. So, let's take a look at what is the pronoun here. So, I will say this will be the pronoun, and again, that's a COE. But do we need a COE here? So, how do we do this? You ask the question. On mange quoi avec le pain, right? We're eating what with the bread? Le fromage. And again, I'm asking the question quoi? On mange quoi? Notice that I'm not asking the question on mange à quoi? That would be a COD. That would be lui. So it would be on le mange, because fromage is masculin, avec le pain. Okay? Again, it's le because you're asking on mange quoi? Le fromage. Sa grand-mère, il la téléphone tous les matins. Again, this would be your pronoun, and that's a COD. But when you ask the question, il téléphone à qui? À sa grand-mère, okay? Because you're calling to someone in French. Okay, so it is an intransitif, a verb intransitif. You need the preposition. So instead, it would be il. So with COE, it's pretty easy. It's either lui or leur. And lui is both gender singulier, and leur is both gender pluriel. Okay? Il lui téléphone tous les matins. And how do you know the difference between, or how do you grasp the intransitif and the transitif? Again, it's practice, but a lot of times it's very similar to English. You just have to remember when to use the preposition to in English, right? Les étudiants, le professeur les demande de répondre aux questions. Now, demande, I can tell you right now, c'est intransitif, okay? Demander à quelqu'un, right? It's always demander à. Okay. Le professeur les demande de répondre aux questions. Le professeur demande à qui? Aux étudiants. Okay? So, les here is not right because I'm not saying le professeur demande quoi. That would probably give you another answer. Le professeur demande quoi? Les questions, right? But the professor is asking to who, right? So that would be les étudiants. Okay? Les étudiants, le professeur leur demande de répondre aux questions. Okay, so make sure that you're asking the right question. That's how you can grasp, you can master COD, COE. La vidéo, ils ne lui comprennent pas bien. This is not right because you're asking the question, ils ne comprennent quoi, right? What are they not understanding, right? Ils ne la comprennent pas bien. Okay, again, it's la because it is la vidéo that we're replacing. All right, so make sure you're asking the right question. To summarize, you're asking either quoi, qui, à quoi, à qui. Sometimes you might even have de quoi, de qui, right? That is a COD as well. And don't forget to do the practice quizzes, very, very important, and review the chart, okay? Print the chart, make sure that you understand when to use which pronoun. D'accord? Ben, merci beaucoup et je vous souhaite une très bonne journée.